You do not have to believe it for it to manifest in your reality. I know this is a bit of a controversial statement because belief is so much a part of these teachings. And of course, Neville speaks a lot about belief. And yet, I have had just way too many experiences of manifesting something where I simply haven't believed it. But also I see it time and time again with my clients where they do not believe it and it manifests anyway. So today we are talking about how you do not have to believe it for it to manifest. And I am going to share with you a story of Neville's, one of Neville's stories that highlights this and proves this. And what else am I going to do? We'll find out. Let's get into it. My name is Hedley Dorenzi, and I am so happy to be here, and I'm so happy you are here. Thank you so much. I'm a Law of Assumption coach, and if you'd like to know more about me or my offerings, including one-to-one Law of Assumption coaching, my courses, and my book, I Am Money, you will find all of those details in the box below this video. And if you are enjoying my channel and you are finding these videos helpful, I would appreciate it if you press that subscribe button. Thank you so much. Well, I am in the process of selling my house, and I had the first house inspection today, and oh my God, it's full on. Whew. But I will leave that story for another time. But the reason that I wanted to share that is because as part of the inspection process and getting the house ready, I had to dismantle my whole office so that when I put it back together again, the microphone wasn't working, and thank God I tested it. Otherwise, I would have gone into this and wouldn't have recorded anything. So I was trying to figure out what was wrong with the microphone, and I must have been doing everything on the computer with testing it and trying everything to get this microphone to work, which wasn't. And then I finally remembered my technique, the I am technique, and I just said, I am the microphone and I am working. And immediately I checked the on button and it was off. This is after a good 10 minutes of doing everything else but checking the on button. So, just a very simple example of when you remember I am and when you remember who you are and you remember to use it, it can be instant. And so here we are. I have the microphone, I have sound, and I'm able to record this video. So once again, the I am technique works, and sometimes it is very fast. Sometimes it does take a little time. But anyway, before we get into the video today, I actually wanted to do a little client spotlight, because one of the best things about what I do as a Law of Assumption coach is getting to work with the most amazing people who are so incredibly talented and, of course, passionate about Law of Assumption. So I just wanted to share with you one of my clients' work, because she is a very talented artist. And when I saw her work, I was like, oh my gosh, you are so talented. So her name is Monique Sondag, and she is, as I said, an amazing artist. And I will put her links down. So go and check her work out. She is a wonderful artist and, of course, a Law of Assumption student like all of us. So thank you, Monique, for sharing your amazing work and, of course, doing this work and remembering who you are as the infinite I am. The topic of belief comes up a lot. There is an assumption that you have to believe that you have what it is that you want before you're able to manifest it. And of course, that is something that Neville does teach. However, I have had way too much evidence to suggest that that is not the case, and I see it with my clients as well. Which brings me to the conclusion that you do not have to believe it to manifest it. You just don't. There is something else that you do have to be doing, and it is a lot easier than believing something that you don't believe is possible, or trying to convince yourself that you believe it, or trying to get into the state of believing it when you just don't. That is actually holding people back from manifesting what it is that they want, because we are so fixated on getting into the state of believing that you already have it. We have all experienced it ourselves where we've manifested something and we've gone, oh my God, I don't believe it. Like even when it's in our reality, we find ourselves saying, I can't believe it. That's because belief is overrated. And especially in this work, belief is overrated. Now, I have done a video in the past of the difference between belief and faith. I would encourage you to go and watch that video if you haven't, because that really does outline the difference between belief and faith. What I'm going to suggest that you do instead of believing it or trying to get into the state of believing something that you don't have, it's going to help you produce the faith. Because faith is essential. We can really do away with this idea of belief. Even with the I am technique, the amount of times I use the I am technique and I do not believe what I am affirming with the I am technique, and it still works every time. That's the beauty of the I am technique, because the I am technique is separate to Headley. Headley has limiting beliefs and limiting assumptions and is having a very human experience and gets caught up in that human experience multiple times a day. But when Headley remembers the I am technique gazumps all of my individual limiting beliefs and assumptions and doubts and hesitations and all of those very human experiences. The I am technique gazumps all of it. And I'll give you another example of this is, I can't remember the video where I shared this story where my friends lost their keys on the beach, and they called me to say that they lost the keys on the beach. And I said, I'll just be right down. And I'm about a 3 to 4 minute drive from the beach. So as I was driving back down to the beach, I was just affirming, I am the keys and I am found. At the same time I was affirming that, I was also going, oh my God, there's no way we're going to find those keys. It's a massive beach. We were on there for about an hour. Those keys could be anywhere. There's no way we're going to find them. And I just kept repeating, I am the keys and I am found. And then I would go back into my doubt. There's no way we're going to find those keys. I am the keys and I am found. By the time I got to the beach, my friends were walking off the beach just as I was walking to meet them, and they had the keys in the hand. A surfer had found them and somehow thought that the keys belonged to them and ran up after them and said, are these yours? And that was their keys. It was wild. Now, that was within 3 minutes of me affirming that I am the keys and I am found in a state of disbelief. But I remained faithful to the script, which is I am the keys and I am found. So I have found in this work, belief is unnecessary to manifest what it is that you want. So put it aside. You do not need to try and believe something is possible, or that you have something that you don't, or that you can be somewhere where you're not. You do not have to believe it. There's just way too much evidence where you just don't need it. What you do need, however, is this. You'll all know it. It's called awareness. You can go into your imagination and you can become aware of having what it is that you want. You do not need to believe it. You just have to be aware of it. And you're aware of it in imagination. If it's not in your reality, then it has to be in your imagination. You do not have to believe it's possible. You just have to be aware of the possibility. And if you are aware of the possibility multiple times throughout the day, at least once or twice at the very minimum, if you are aware of yourself having something that you want, then that is going to produce faith, not the same as belief. Go and check out that other video I talked about on belief and faith. Awareness and belief are two different states, and I would suggest letting belief go. Don't even try and chase belief. Just let it go. It's overrated. We don't need it. Awareness or mindfulness of the having of something. One of Neville's most popular stories about how he wanted to go to Barbados but didn't have the money, and so he went to Abdullah and he said, I want to go to Barbados, and Abdullah said, you are in Barbados. As you listen to that story, what is evident in that story is that Neville did not believe that he was in Barbados, yet he was aware that he was in Barbados. And the reason that he didn't believe it is that he kept going back to Abdullah and saying, Abdullah, it's getting close to the last ship sailing and I am no closer to Barbados. And Abdullah simply said, you are in Barbados. Neville did not believe he was in Barbados, but he did what Abdullah said and he slept in Barbados, meaning he was aware of being in Barbados without the belief he was in Barbados. And that is the big difference. You do not have to believe that you have what it is that you want. You simply have to be aware that you have it, which means going into your imagination, having it in imagination, engaging your senses in imagination and sleeping in that state in imagination. Meaning you can be in New York City or wherever you are and be aware of being in Barbados at the same time. Belief and awareness are two different things, and it is much easier to be aware of having something that you don't rather than believing that you have something that you don't. I am not concerned with belief anymore. I know I don't have to believe something. I simply have to be aware of having it. Now, I want to give you a really fun technique based on that story. I'm calling it the Barbados Technique because essentially that's what it is. So, and I will have a link for the free download of these slides in the box below this video. But the purpose of this technique is to help you manifest whatever it is that you desire, even in the face of doubt or disbelief. So this technique, of course, is based on the story that Neville shares in his lecture, I Am All Imagination. And I've also put a link to that lecture in the free download, which you can have a read as well. So the first step is to identify what is your Barbados. Your Barbados is the thing that you want to manifest in your reality that isn't currently in your reality. And because it's not currently in your reality, that is going to lead to the possibility of having some doubts or disbelief that you can have it in your reality. So your Barbados can be anything, such as a person, a situation, any kind of result in your reality. Your Barbados can be anything at all. Step 2 is Neville represents your doubt, because in the story, Neville was doubting that he was in Barbados. Abdullah is your faith. So these characters exist within you. So when you experience doubt or disbelief in relation to what it is that you're wanting to manifest, that's your inner Neville in this specific situation. And in the face of your doubt or disbelief, you need faith. That's your inner Abdullah. So when you experience doubt in relation to something that you're working on, you want to align with your inner Abdullah. And you simply say to your doubt, you are in, and then insert your Barbados. So you are in this job, or you are in this specific house, or you have this amount of money. So you want to respond to your doubt with your Abdullah. You are in your Barbados. And then bring your awareness to that state of being in your Barbados and remain aware of being in your Barbados for at least a few minutes, just so you can be in that state. And you can even imagine that part of you walking away and slamming the door on you, like end of discussion. It's like, I can't believe it. You're in Barbados. You are in your Barbados. And that's a little technique I've been playing with and having a bit of fun with, because it's like an internal script that whenever that thought of doubt comes in on something that I'm working on, I just respond to that doubt with, you are in, or you already have, or whatever the script is, so it makes sense. And just remember, before he was Neville, before he was the teacher that we know him as, he had a lot of doubts. You know, this story is evidence of that. He did not believe that he was in Barbados, and he didn't know how he was going to get to Barbados, and he continued to doubt that he was in Barbados. And he would go to Abdullah, and Abdullah represented his faith. You are in Barbados. And that is it. You just have to be aware that you are in the state that you want to have already now in imagination. Forget belief. It's overrated. You don't need it. There's more than enough evidence to prove this story is one of them. So go forth, be aware of what it is that you want, and just remain aware of it. And by remaining aware of it, you build the faith of already having it. And then the means of having it in reality will be made clear to you. You do not have to figure out. And just remember what Abdullah said was, if you are already in the state of having what it is that you want, you are not trying to work out the means. So if you're trying to work out the means of something, then you're not in the state. So just stop what you're doing, go into imagination, be in the state, see the world from that state, and just remain aware of it. That's it. All right. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for doing this work. Thank you for remembering who you are. Have a wonderful, wonderful week. I will look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye.